Scrapped up. It is Binley versus Seli on Ephemeron, and this is the second of our quarterfinals. So, Binley are a Zerg player then in the bottom right of the map, and Seli are Terran player up in the top left. So, it's been a while since I've seen Binley in action, but I did see a friendly between him and Lily, and he was looking pretty good, looking pretty on it. So yeah, I'll be interested to see how this goes. You know, I do like to see a bit of variety, a bit of Zerg in the mix as well. It's yeah, so this should be an interesting matchup. So far, nothing really much to report. Binley's opening looks very normal. There isn't like anything weird, like a 12 pull coming out of him. There's 3 drones in production. The Overlord has popped. What I'd normally expect is to see one of these drones being produced to head down to the natural and drop a hatchery. Would be pretty normal. And there is the drone moving out, so I guess that's what we're going to see, and it is. Meanwhile, Terran land, things looking pretty normal as well. Just going to finish the wall shortly here for Seli, with the gas finishing up. And you know, a wall against a Zerg is generally recommended. It's a good plan as a Terran to make sure you've got that wall in position, just in case your opponent has gone for something crazy like the 12 pull, which means they can get 6 lings across the map and into your base very, very early indeed. And even if it isn't a 12 pull, there's all sorts of builds that involve getting sort of numbers more like 24 or even 30 lings out onto the map with speed at a relatively early stage in the game. And a wall can just protect you from that. You know, whether you build a wall down here or not, if you are going to build it down here, you need to know that it isn't a 12 pull. It's a long way from home, so if a bunch of lings do turn up and your Rax is half done or something like that, you know, you've got a long way to pull workers to try and help defend that. And obviously if the Rax gets denied, that can be really, really obnoxious. So I don't mind this opening, and I do quite like the Reaper first. Reapers are much faster than lings, without speed, and so they can kind of dance around and protect you from, with the grenades and stuff as well, can protect you from 6 lings, can also get across the map, get into the opponent's base, have a look around, and just, it's all good getting a Reaper out, isn't it? It's all good. So Reaper pauses over here, not 100% sure why. You know, you really do need some information, and you need information from a Zerg earlier than most races. So the Reaper is not going to go in. The Overlord sees it, and you can see Binley's pulling these lings where out on the map. He's pulled those back home to just make sure he's safe against this. To be honest, the Queen is normally enough to keep you safe against a Reaper. If the Reaper stands still for too long to try and focus on a worker or any... Oh no, don't lose the Reaper! No, that's a shame. As I was saying, if the Reaper stands still for long enough to kill a worker, the Queen will probably pick it off, and you know, you're not going to kill a Queen with a Reaper. So yeah, Binley Nest coming down then for Binley. These lings are not going to move across the map, and see what they can get done. Speed is going to be finishing up shortly, so straight off the straight away the lings are going to be able to deny this bunker at the front door. That's not going to take them too long at all, and down it goes. And potentially these lings could go up the ramp and start to be annoying. You know, you should, as a Terran, you should really have Marines behind this wall in a position that they can just kill anything on the ramp. So lings very unlikely to get anything done if they do venture up here, but they would be able to see. Look, so this ling comes up, and what it does is, I'll show you. This is what it got to see. So you know, that's useful intel. Sees this starport finishing up. All of those types of things. So Seli's going to fly this down onto the low ground, and at present I'm not so sure he's got enough Marines actually to see these lings off. He doesn't know about these, of course, but with the Binleys popping out, he definitely doesn't have enough to see this off. So might have to lift this CC up again in a moment. So the lings are going to come in, they are going to get a full surround, and all of these Marines are going to go down. I don't know that I agree with using the Binleys. I think I'd have tried to hold the Binleys back because there was enough ling there. There was enough ling there to kill those Marines. So Hellions are the key here. This factory swap over, to be honest, like 2 Hellions you'd be amazed at how many lings you can take on with Hellions. It's a pity the Hellions hadn't come down with the Marines, because actually they just make such a huge difference. It does require a bit of micro. You don't want the Hellions to get surrounded. Anything surrounded by lings tends to have a bad time. But these Hellions, if they come down and just kite the lings, they can get a huge amount done, and you can just gradually pull the Hellions back until they're in a sort of choke position. So it's very, very hard for the lings to get surface area on them. So the lair is under construction for Binley. You can see that he's actually researching burrow as well, which is interesting. He's got that overlord speed in addition to that. We've got an evo chamber, but no upgrades coming down from the evo chamber just yet. Meanwhile, it's going to be Banshee Cloak for our... Oh, don't siege up. Yeah, so the siege tank, siege tanks are great. That particular siege tank would have been better up here. As it was caught with its pants down halfway through a siege up, which isn't great. So, Seli's in this awkward position here where he's got a hovering command center that he can't land. It's really not that many lings. So you get your siege tank up here, sieged up, and then just send the Marines down, and you can hold this without any bother, or get the siege tank even in this position seized up and send the Marines down in front of it. What you don't want is the lings on top of the siege tank, because that's just annoying. So, second siege tank coming out. Binley's been morphed. Where are these siege tanks going? This one on its own, this just looks awkward. If these lings run in, this one needs to be sieged up. This one probably not. You want the Marines down with this. You don't want really a siege tank on its own. Those Binleys just getting obliterated there, and that's pretty nasty. So, sort of leapfrogging these siege tanks, but speed lings can just surround the siege tank, and it's ugly. You need something to support it. Anyway, he has now landed this and can start mining from this natural. But he's quite a way behind in that regard. If you look at the minerals, Binley's got twice the mineral income of Seli here. So that's a substantial difference. Overseer having a good old look around. He is going to dive in here. He is going to get on top of the siege tank. But this high ground siege tank is going to deal out enough damage to keep everything safe. This is where you need the Marines down as well, just to mop up those damaged lings. But it doesn't really matter. The 2 siege tanks do their job. So with the bunker, presumably he's going to move a few units down into that bunker. What I've not seen from Seli, and I'd really like to see from Seli, is a bit more scouting. It's a long time since that Reaper came in and had a look. I think maybe was there a scan a little while ago? Not sure. Yeah, it's a long while since he's been in and had a look. So I don't know whether or not he knows about this spire. I suspect not. 3 mutas in production. Powering mutas of, well, 2 bases, one without the gases saturated. It's just going to be hard work. You can't afford that. You need at the very least to have this gas mine in, and you probably need the gases here as well if this is going to be a big muta play. If it's just a handful of mutas basically just to rile your opponent up, I don't mind that. That's a common enough thing that you'll see done, where you push out sort of between 6 and 9 mutas. And you just fly in, pick off a few workers, and it forces a response. It forces your opponent to be building those turrets, makes them a little bit nervous about pushing out onto the map, frequently produces an overreaction, because you got 9 mutas in your base. You think, what's going to be next? Is it going to be a massive flock of sort of 20 mutas? This Banshee comes in, only 2 kills so far. I don't know about focusing the Queen. And definitely don't switch then to a different Queen. This one's almost dead. Kill it. That's horrible. Like that. What was the point in shooting that Queen to almost dead and then flying off without actually getting the kill? So the Banshee basically goes down for nothing. 2 drone kills for a Banshee. Yeah, that's a bit ugly. Didn't even get the Queen. Got not much. Anyway, this oversaturation Binley needs to do a little bit of worker balancing, get these workers transferred down here, get these gases building. It looks like it is going to be a reasonably substantial muta play. A reasonable number of them now out on the map. Let's have a peek. There are 8 mutas. So yeah, I don't know. I personally would be inclined to get those into my opponent's base, do some harassing stuff, and I probably wouldn't build any more after that. You can see that there are flyer attack upgrades coming, which is interesting. So I don't know if there is later going to be a transition, perhaps into Corruptor Broodlord, or if he's just going to try and push this through with the mutas. He's certainly going to get some work done here. There was nothing in position, no turrets or anything. These Marines will see it up, but there was no worker pool, so a lot of the workers actually going down before the Marines managed to push them away. You can see 12 workers killed already. So Binley, you know, I don't know, maybe he's just feeling confident that he can just close this out off 3 bases, but you know, there's nothing happening here. It's 10 minutes in and we're still only on 3 bases. Eurozerk, by the 10-minute stage, you know, you should really have your 4th up, your 3rd should be fully saturated, and this creep should be sort of getting towards the halfway across the map point. Yeah, so plenty of mutas out and about being annoying, but it's this that's the more interesting thing. There's chitinous plating being researched. Again, trying to power ultras off just 2 bases isn't going to work. You just need more. Although, with that said, Seli doesn't really have a particularly substantial army. He's got a few siege tanks for sure, but this is largely marine, and you know, Marines against Ultras is pretty nasty. Ultras do just so much damage to these Marines. We have got 1-1 for the Marines, and that's good. There's no... interesting that there's like these flyer upgrades for Binley, but there's no... I'd like to see melee upgrades coming out of the Evo chamber, because, you know, that enhances your lings, but it's also going to enhance your... Ultralisks. I'd also quite like to see the adrenal glands being researched for the lings, because it just makes a huge difference. These mutas are going to continue to be really annoying. These turrets not in the best of positions. You know, there's already a bunker there to shoot stuff in the air. Nothing here to protect these, and unfortunately no stim on the Marines, so the mutas just get in and get a bunch of free kills, and this is really going to start stacking up. 25 dead workers already, and Seli is far from rich. So, you know, with the 3rd in position, I'd really like to see him just throw turrets all over this. Drop a bunch of mules. You've got, like, look at all this energy, full energy. 85 there. You know, you just bury this mineral line in mules, and you'll have an instant spike in minerals. Yeah, and you can turn some of that into turrets. You can just negate these mutas really with a handful of turrets, and widow mines in addition to that are brilliant. You know, if you've got like a turret and a widow mine or something like that, the widow mine softens those mutas up substantially. They do tend to clump a bit, so the splash damage from a widow mine or two just means that the turrets will pick them off really quickly. I love this, by the way. These burrowed Benlins, you know, who knows? This particular map on Ephemeron, I'd love to see them on these bridges, just a couple on each bridge, with maybe a ling up, you know, scouting up ahead and a patrol path, so that you get that warning if something is about to push off. You know, anything like a ball of Marines walking across that bridge through that choke point, 2-3 burrowed Benlins just annihilates them. Beautiful thing. So if we look at the supplies, they are very even. It's Seli with the bigger army though, but look how spread out it is. You know, these units in this position aren't going to help at all. These units in this position aren't going to help at all. The 2 siege tanks up at the back will help. These Marines aren't actually doing any shooting, so it does need to fix that. Siege tanks getting a few free shots off, pulling the Marines back maybe into the range of the siege tanks is what he had in mind there. Kindness plating, I believe, is done, but this, yeah, the siege tank fire from above is doing a good job. These siege tanks moving forward should mean that Binley is able to see this off, but needs to do a little bit of kiting with the Marines. Does he have stim? It could make quite a big difference here. This is turning out to be a pretty expensive engagement for both players, to be honest. So the army value, well, rather the army numbers for Seli in the end tanked hard. A part of the issue that he had there was His siege tanks were doing quite a lot of splash damage on his own marines. Bear in mind, ultras are heavily armoured, so when your siege tanks hit the ultras, the splash damage from them, because they're melee units, hits your own marines. And actually does more damage to the marines than the ultras because of that heavy armour that the ultras have. So that's pretty nasty. You know, he could really... These marines are just standing idly by watching this happen. I'd like to see them do something about it. Yeah, so siege tanks can do okay against ultras, but arguably once you've cleared the lings off the map and it's only ultras left, you definitely want to switch those up into regular tank mode rather than siege mode. This is a bit painful to watch, isn't it? Yeah, hard to deal with, those ultras. Hard to deal with, to be fair. They are very, very tough things. And, you know, 500 health. It's a bit ridiculous, isn't it? Like 500 health, it's more than a bunker. So, yeah, what he needs is some heavy hitters to do damage to these. Ideally, he should look to get medevacs or grit, but you know, another starport down and get some liberators out, because liberators can make a really, really big difference here. Liberators do such big burst damage that, you know, they can punch through that armor on the ultras. Marines are not good against ultras because they do lots of little bits of damage, so the armor on the ultras basically absorbs all of it, and each marine is only doing like 1 damage per shot or something pitiful. So what you need are things that are going to do heavy damage. This guy's just hiding. Yeah, okay, Seli, okay. So Seli finds himself just mining off these 9 workers, 4 in the men. These guys idle. That's a miss rally, I think. Yeah, what he needs, he needs more things like marauders to help against ultras. He could do with liberators, and you know, more things like Thors, for example, siege tanks, stuff that packs a punch. Marines are not going to cut it. Binley he doesn't even know how to spend his money. So if I'm Binley right now, I want more base. I want more hatcheries. Does Seli see this? He does. So he does move into position. He should be able to shut this down before anything comes out of it, and he does. If he can snipe this fella, that is going to give him a little bit of peace of mind. You probably didn't need to pull the entire army into that corner of your base, but, you know, I'll forgive it. Yeah, Binley, you've got all this money, so do something with it. You know, drop extra hatcheries so that you're able to just crank stuff out way faster. Now, with that said, you know, there's an awful lot of idle larvae just parked lying about, so he does have the potential to build stuff. Yeah, 169 supply. You know, he should really be, given that he's got all that money, he should just be at 200 supply constantly. What he can do, one of the things you can do when you're a Zerg and you find yourself mineral rich, is you can kind of throw away lings to trade. You know, so you can just be clicking lings in here, constantly chipping away at your opponent. You know, and if you trade a bunch of lings for a siege tank, it's okay. Your opponent's stuck on these 2 bases. Vikings are fine, but they're no good against ultras, so I think I'd have preferred liberators, really. So, Binley's going to move in, and yeah, the armies, you know, he does have the slightly bigger army, but we're just going to see how powerful these ultras are. They are taking a lot of damage from the siege tanks in the high ground, but with this army positioning not really in the right place, everything on the low ground is going to die. And yes, Binley's army supply is reduced a great deal, but this is the big problem here, isn't it? It's 16 workers to 59, and Binley has so many minerals, he can just resupply instantly. He can just hold down a button, and you can see 7 units in production, 14 links. This is where I was saying, you know, why not drop just a few extra hatcheries? Literally just drop hatchery, just to build stuff from macro hatches, just so that you can flood stuff out. Looks like he knows about this. I don't know how he found out about it. Must have flown an overseer or something over it. But can lift this off. There's nothing here that shoots up, so he can save this CC, which is nice. Seli's moving out onto the map, and he does have a pretty substantial army. Let's have a quick peek at the upgrades. So these are 3/3 Marines. These are not to be sneezed at. I wonder, though, against Ultras, Marines just aren't really the choice. Now, with that said, all of these Ultras are a little bit hurt. Oh my goodness, the burrowed Binleys. But look, Seli walks around. Does he know about them? I don't think so. I think that is just a fluke. So if he has Stim, he can stim into this and just win. He's got the bigger army, and all of these Ultras are damaged. So potentially Seli could get himself into a really strong position here. Needs to make sure he is continuing to macro, continuing to do stuff. This can now land somewhere. You need to be mining. You've only got 7. Well, actually, you've only got 2 workers mining minerals, and that is desperate. So you need to be doing something. If this is standing still isn't going to cut it. You need to force the issue here before your opponent has a chance to reinforce this with even more Ultras, because you don't really have an answer to these Ultras. So while these are damaged, brilliant. This has got Cloak, but there is an Overseer here, so if you can snipe that Overseer, look, he can take that fight, but he needs to focus on these Ultras. No, the Binleys just ended. That was... Hang on. Let's just see that again. What just happened? It's 94 army supply to 90. I'm running this in like proper slow-mo. Let's just have a peek at what went on there. So see the Binleys in the middle? Really hard to see, but they are there. Boom! Oh no! Oh no! Crouching ultra hidden Binley. Oh no. Rarely in my days have I seen so much army supply disappear so quickly. That was a fairly horrendous thing to watch, wasn't it? So, what do you do against Binleys? They are hard to fight at this level. What the pros do is they split their units, they spread them like absolute bosses. But it's so much easier said than done. It's not something that can be done easily. So the better counter to it at our level really is to have units that can take a Binley hit. Have Marauders in that mix. The Marauders at the front are punchy enough that they can take a couple of Binleys in the face. Marines just can't. They just all die from that splash. So you need some Marauders scattered in. You need something like Hellbats or something like that that is going to be able to absorb those Binley hits is the way to deal with it, unless your micro is absolutely godlike. Anyway, it's Binley that goes 1 game up. GG.